Hello, and welcome to the breakout session for Amazon Managed Blockchain. My name is John Liu, the head of product for Amazon Managed Blockchain, or AMB for short. I have 20 years of experience building products for institutional finance, and for the last 4 years, I've led product and business strategy for various public blockchain protocols, tackling many of the use cases which I will share with you today. At AMB, I work with our customers and engineers to create solutions which help you easily build scalable blockchain applications by eliminating the need for complicated and expensive blockchain infrastructure management. In the past year, there's been continued maturation of blockchain proof of concepts to revenue-generating products on both the private and public blockchains. In this session, we use learnings from these applications to help you determine whether blockchains are a good solution for your use cases, and if they are, what type of blockchain you should consider. This session assumes you have a working knowledge of blockchain technology, including what blockchain consensus is, what blockchain nodes are, and how blockchain transactions are committed to create an immutable and decentralized ledger. Here's what we're covering at a high level. First, we provide a framework to help you decide whether blockchain is appropriate for your use case. Then, we'll dive into the differences and benefits of private and public blockchains. Next, we describe how AMB's product helps you build impactful blockchain applications quickly. We then turn it over to Christoph Straub, CEO of Global Rockstar, an innovative music company that has built a transformative solution using public blockchains and non-fungible tokens, or NFTs. When deciding whether blockchain is a good solution for your use case, you should consider 4 criteria. Treat this as a first-level checklist in your decision tree. If your use case passes all 4 criteria, then likely blockchain is a good solution and deserves a deeper analysis. When blockchain technology is mentioned, 2 benefits come to the top of mind. These 2 are, 1, an immutable source of truth, and 2, a layer of automation enabled by code. And the first criteria is related to these 2 benefits. Is the workflow that you're looking to improve negatively impacted by manual processes? Does it have business logic embedded in paper documents? Are there multiple or incomplete sources of truth in the system? If the answer to these types of questions is yes, then blockchain is a candidate, and we can move on to our next criteria. Our next criteria looks at the entities involved in your use case. Blockchains are well suited for workflows with multiple entities, collaborating, and relying in real time on the actions of each other. Entities in a blockchain could be different organizations, segregated departments within a single organization, or both. When you map out your workflow, ask yourself, is it a multi-party business that needs a better method of collaboration? If the answer is yes, then we can continue our analysis. Most customers are pretty good at evaluating these 2 criteria when evaluating blockchains as a solution. They map out a detailed workflow showing manual processes, opaque segments, complex relationships between multiple parties, and conclude that blockchain is needed and start building their proof of concepts. Many of you have likely seen these diagrams, a spider web of lines that starts looking like a spinning tesseract, changing form and dimensions as you look at it from different angles. However, these 2 criteria alone do not provide sufficient justification for blockchain over any automated application built on a centralized database with immutable data. If you start building your proof of concept based on these 2 criteria alone, chances are you will see blockchain as just a harder and more expensive way to do what you can already do without blockchain. The next 2 criteria are frequently overlooked and could be the most important deciding factors for moving forward with blockchain. The first of these 2 criteria examines the rights and responsibilities of the blockchain members, that is, the entities which operate the blockchain. The criteria to evaluate is whether or not the members have equal rights in the use case, with the emphasis being on equal. This equality means that not only do the members collaborate, but everything one member can do, the other members can do too. For example, members can not only see each other's data on-chain, they can also send transactions which update that single source of truth. Equal member rights also means that members should not give a single member absolute authority over the network. Now, this system of shared authority is a result of business considerations, such as not wanting a single member to have a competitive advantage, or not wanting dependencies over which members lack a shared control. Before blockchain, many industries solved this need for equal rights collaboration among loosely aligned entities with an inefficient checks and balances system involving passing paper documents and third-party trust services. In some cases, like supply chains, no organization has full view of the workflow, and an organized chaos becomes the norm. The second of these two criteria examines your minimum performance requirements in terms of transaction throughput and transaction finality. If your workflow requires performance associated with traditional databases, such as transactions exceeding 50,000 transactions per second, or write response times in the milliseconds, then blockchain is not suitable. Blockchains, because of their consensus mechanisms, currently max out at around 30,000 transactions per second, with transaction finality at around 1 second. The majority of blockchains operate at a lower performance, supporting 25 to a few hundred transactions per second, with finality between 1 to 15 seconds. However, if your use case has passed all 4 of these criteria, then blockchains are suitable solutions. Blockchains not only provide a single source of immutable truth, automation, and transparency, but importantly incorporate the governance framework to efficiently create trust and cooperation between loosely aligned parties. Now that we've identified the criteria for evaluating blockchain as a solution for your use case, we'll talk about the 2 general categories of blockchain: private and public. There are 2 important points I'd like to convey before diving deeper. First, private and public blockchains do not compete with each other. They just address use cases with different considerations. Second, the blockchain technology has continued evolving. The benefits of these 2 categories have started to overlap, pointing to a future state of hybrid blockchains. When you hear about blockchains like Hyperledger, Corda, and Quorum, people are talking about private blockchains. Solving supply chain inefficiencies are frequently associated with private blockchain solutions. A private blockchain is a permission network in which the network members can place restrictions on who can join. It also allows these members to set various types of rights for the network participants, similar to a traditional permissioned application. The private and private blockchain does not mean people or organizations in the public are forever excluded. Rather, it means the network members have control on which public entities can access the network and with what permission. For example, in our supply chain, members can allow merchants to register using accepted business identifications, and upon registration, the merchants would see only their own shipping data within the blockchain and not their competitors. Given that members have so much power and responsibility in maintaining the network and defining the rules which run the network, members are usually known in advance. Members can then define mechanisms to add new members or remove members to grow and protect the network. In our supply chain example, the members of the network could be government customs, shipping providers, and banks. Be sure to choose your members wisely. Their cooperation and collaboration is critical to the success of a private blockchain. Remember from our 4 criteria before, members in a blockchain share equal rights and responsibilities. Finally, in order to assign roles and permissions, knowledge of participant identity is important. In our supply chain example, the network must know which participants are merchants exporting goods and which are delivery providers transporting those goods in order to enforce the proper permissions. With an understanding of these characteristics, we can now look towards their benefits. The permission and identity knowledge of private blockchains grant a network a fine-tuned control on who can access the resource and provide advanced privacy and compliance features. Furthermore, private blockchains, which usually have less than 20 network members, also can achieve consensus faster and handle higher transaction throughput with shorter transaction time They also do not need to worry about being charged blockchain transaction costs or gas outside of a member control. It's important to note that various public blockchains are catching up to, and in some cases exceeding, private blockchains in transaction throughput. As I mentioned earlier, the technical capabilities and benefits of private and public blockchains are starting to overlap. Enterprise organizations and governments gravitate towards private blockchains because their use case typically enforce role-based business logic and data transparency, and they frequently utilize and store sensitive data, such as personally identified information, or PII, that must be protected. Let's look at 3 use case categories which highlight the characteristics and benefits of private blockchains. The first use case category is track and trace solutions, which cover businesses across multiple industries such as fashion, food, and healthcare. Use cases span a wide variety under this broad category and include fighting counterfeits, validating certifications such as organic certification, and automating supply chains and their related logistics. With multiple parties, fractured ownership, blocks of opacity, and manual processes, track and trace are perfect candidates for blockchains. However, these use cases, moving them into the blockchain, is also very challenging, given the amount of cross-organization workflow alignment required. Our next use case category is financial services and settlements. Over-the-counter financial instruments, such as bonds and some derivatives, often rely on confirmations over messenger applications and have payment or exercise logic still captured in paper. Because these multiple entity workflows share sensitive and material financial information, which would harm the parties if exposed, they make excellent use cases for private blockchain solutions. Another use case is helping centralized exchanges and clearinghouses upgrade their settlement systems, which typically rely on database-driven end-of-day reconciliations across entities, each with their own copy of the same data. When you think about it, most of these workflows actually operate like a blockchain, with financial members sharing exposure and pieces of information, but with none of the benefits of blockchain. Our last use case category deals with government-level identities and more recently certifications such as COVID-19 vaccinations. Blockchains are an excellent network for government agencies within or across countries to share identity documents such as digital passports and their activities in real time. Private blockchains allow governments to have that central source of truth while protecting unauthorized parties from accessing sensitive information such as social security numbers and passport numbers. Let's move on to public blockchains. When you hear about Bitcoin or Ethereum, people are talking about public blockchains. A public blockchain is a permissionless blockchain, which means anyone can join and participate in the network. Data, including all transactions that is stored on that chain, can be seen by anyone with an internet connection. Anyone can build applications on the blockchain, and there is no way to ban an application from running. Public blockchains harness voluntary community resources to bootstrap and secure their network. Therefore, node operators are generally not known in advance, nor are they usually identified. Anyone can spin up a node and help secure the network, provided they have the right expertise, and in some cases, sufficient capital to meet the staking requirements. Some public blockchains actually have mechanisms which require existing node runners to nominate new node runner candidates, borrowing in a way aspects of private blockchain. Now, because on-chain transactions and data are visible to everyone in public blockchains, protecting anonymity is important. This anonymity encourages equality and trust amongst users, and instead of relying on identity-based roles as in the case of private blockchains, public blockchains rely on economics and game theory to encourage participants to act for the betterment of the network. At this point, it's worth mentioning that continued developments in decentralized identity and their technology is realizing a new form of anonymous identity, which may confer the benefits of identity-based roles while still protecting a user's on-chain anonymity. Now, what are the benefits that these characteristics enable for public blockchains? Well, as a permissionless network, openness, or accessibility is the biggest benefit of public blockchains. As long as you have a connection to the internet, you can participate and make an impact on the blockchain and access all the opportunities presented by that blockchain. This easy access and transparency leads to rapid growth in applications, innovations, and participants, which in turn leads to a vibrant community driving transactions. Furthermore, projects can easily interact and benefit from other projects, chaining together to create a larger and more impactful service in a very short amount of time. Being permissionless and open leads to another benefit, a decentralized infrastructure which is resilient against single points of failure and protect against data manipulation. Instead of spending resources putting up layers of firewalls and identity checks, the blockchain network simply needs to keep growing, which is another reason why the second benefit of rapid growth is important to blockchain. To help you tie together public blockchain characteristics and benefits we just went over, we will focus on 3 use cases which are closest to achieving mass adoption. You will notice that there is an overlap between the use cases I shared earlier and these. Now, this should not be a surprise because the choice of private or public depends on how you approach areas of control, openness, and privacy when you're solving for your use case. Think of private and public as 2 sides of a coin, where the coin represents the industry use case. We start with decentralized finance, or DeFi. The concept of decentralized finance, a trusted way to exchange financial assets without intermediaries, was a driving force behind Bitcoin's creation. However, the full breadth of what we call DeFi today turned a corner from conceptual to impactful in 2018. Starting from basic lending, DeFi expanded to decentralized exchanges, new forms of returns such as yield farming, decentralized derivatives, and even created new financial instruments such as flash loans, which are instant, uncollateralized loans that must be returned within a single transaction block. This creates a low-risk situation for the lender and opens new liquidity options for the borrower. Within the last 2 years, large chunks of traditional finance have actually been ported onto the public blockchain. DeFi is a growing ecosystem of actual working protocols and applications, delivering value to millions of users, including many who are still excluded from traditional finance, and they transact the equivalent of billions of dollars in digital assets daily. Our next use case is closely related to DeFi and deals with digital payments. Digital payments started with debit cards for Bitcoins as a practical means for utilizing the monetary value that was created for holders of Bitcoin. Payments expanded to include other blockchain tokens, but the volatile nature of these coins made cryptocurrencies an impractical medium for payments. However, the growth of stablecoins, which are cryptocurrencies pegged to fiat currencies such as the dollar in the last 2 years, has changed the game. 2 of the most popular stablecoins you've probably heard of are Tether and USDC. With stablecoins, businesses and users can exchange goods with the familiarity and stability of traditional currencies, but the efficiency of digital currencies. Banks, payment processors such as Visa and MasterCard, and fintech companies like PayPal are all expanding their offerings in this space. Our final use case deals with non-fungible tokens, or NFTs. Now, NFTs are cryptocurrencies which simplify tracking, authenticity, and ownership. Like DeFi, the concept of NFTs has been around for over 4 years. The ERC 721 non-fungible token standard was created at the start of 2018 for the express purpose of solving digital authenticity problems. The NFT market took a huge leap into this public spotlight this year due to notable artist sales, brand name enterprises offering NFTs, and celebrities in the entertainment industry promoting or even directly owning NFTs. The rapid pace at which enterprises are involving NFTs has caught even the public blockchain veterans off guard. While most public attention currently deal with art, collectibles, gaming, and fashion items, the possibilities of NFTs extend to financial applications, such as creating segregated deposit vaults within a wallet, and even other forms of digital rights management. Now that you have a good framework to evaluate whether blockchain is the right solution, and whether you should be building your application on a private or public, or in some cases even a hybrid solution, let's talk about how AMB can help you in your efforts. One of the first challenges with using blockchain is maintaining the infrastructure, which has a steep learning curve and presents a large barrier to adoption. You will need to know low-level expertise on how blockchains pass information to each other and keep in sync. You also need to set up for resiliency through node clustering, which introduces additional challenges on making sure you are reading and writing from the right cluster. For a private network, setting up and coordinating members in a secure fashion with the right access points could take days to configure. And for a public network, standing up a node could take a few days to sync with the rest of the blockchain, which is a prerequisite to both accurate read and write transactions. Even after setting up the network, you have to deal with the challenges in scaling and over or under provisioning your network. In private networks, this could mean having to add additional members and provisioning more servers to handle growth of transactions. In public networks, this could mean maintaining additional nodes to handle your application demand. Imagining this network is not trivial. Dealing with the security, the governance, the storing of data, and even miscellaneous billing, which we frequently overlook as you connect to different services, can create a very cumbersome experience. These challenges then lead to costs which are more expensive than they need to be. Customers use consultants to build their blockchain network, or they retask valuable technical resources that are not familiar with blockchain. And also, customers may have to pay for idle resources that they are not using. Amazon Managed Blockchain is a fully managed service, and AMB supports Hyperledger, which is used by 80% of the top 100 enterprises, and Ethereum, the largest public blockchain by total value locked. And we are looking to add other blockchains in 2022. Using AWS's console and other services such as CloudFormation or command line interface, infrastructure takes minutes versus hours and days. Setup is in languages that are familiar to you. AMB's managed service is architected with AWS's robust services and technologies, giving you the reliability and scalability that AWS is known for. With a familiar pay-as-you-go cost structure, AMB is a low-cost solution both in actual dollars spent and, importantly, the opportunity cost in helping you launch your products faster. AMB is highly integrated with AWS's 175 fully featured services such as Key Management System, CloudWatch Logs, CloudFormation, giving you a rich set of solutions to simplify your work. In short, AMB allows you to focus your resources and attentions on building your applications and delivering a great user experience without having to worry about the undifferentiated and complex task of maintaining blockchain infrastructure. In 2021, we released new features to help our customers working with private blockchains. First, we enabled Customer-Managed Customer Master Keys, or CM/CMK. Customers can encrypt member-specific resources using their own customer-managed keys, which are declared in AWS Key Management Services. Each member can use their own CMK and manage it according to their own security policy. Second, we updated data storage policies to GDPR compliance standards without needing customer intervention. For example, customer data is kept for 30 days, service logs can be kept for 90 days, and service metadata can be kept for 10 years. Finally, we introduced tagging, which helps you quickly identify and group network resources based on the tags that you've assigned to it. Now, it is very useful for running analytics such as resource utilization and other logistics such as billing. At the end of December, we will also support Hyperledger Fabric 2.2. in addition to our current version of 1.4. Hyperledger Fabric 2.2 offers new application and privacy patterns, enhanced governance around smart contracts for chain code, and new options for operating nodes. So far, we've covered criteria for evaluating when to use blockchains and shared the characteristics and benefits of private and public blockchains. We've also discussed how AMB can help you build blockchain applications quickly. Now, we will turn it over to Christoph Straub, the CEO of Global Rockstar, who will share why they chose blockchain as a solution and how they built an impactful solution product to solve their pain point in the music industry.
Thank you, John. I'm happy to present Global Rockstar, your share in music NFTs, our evolution of the music business built on Amazon managed blockchain. My name is Christoph Straub. I'm the founder and CEO of Global Rockstar. Back in the 90s, I started as an artist, as a songwriter, as a music producer. Quickly, my first songs became number ones. I received platinum CDs, and in 20 years of working as artist and music producer, I signed lots of contracts, some of them that I should not have signed. The good thing about it is I learned a lot about the music business. I signed contracts with major labels in the 90s, so this is one that didn't get lost, and it looks like this today. This is the first contract I signed with a record label. Lately, I wanted to get in contact with that label to get back the rights from this contract, but the label doesn't exist anymore. It was merged with another label. Some rights went here, some rights went there, and until today, I tried to find out who is administering my rights today. So this is how I experienced the traditional music business, with tons of contracts on paper that are spread all around the globe, and some that are getting lost over the decades. And here we see that the traditional music business has an issue. It's complicated to clear rights after decades due to the difficult traceability of ownerships. Some artists die, some labels disappear, and after decades, it's a pure headache to find out who owns what. Now, in the 90s, we had a huge fan base, my band and I. So fans, I remember fans coming to me and asking, can't we co-finance your next album and be a part of it to earn royalties from it? I went to my label and asked if that would be possible. But the traditional music business was not built to distribute to more than the artists and the producers. So fans were not able to own a piece of the cake. Now, Global Rockstar and AWS are changing the game together with music NFTs. We all heard about the success of NFTs, the great success of NFTs in the art world. Digital animations are traded for millions. Buyers then own one of a few thousand editions of the work. In the sports world, we see that fans spend incredible amounts to own and play with digital football cards. But we believe that there is an even more meaningful way to use the great technology within NFTs. It's for copyright, it's for music rights. The term of rights to receive royalties from a recording lasts for 70 years after its release. The term of rights from songs to receive royalties from songwriters or publishers lasts up to 70 years after the death of the songwriter. So NFTs are immutable and are perfect to register rights to participate in royalties for a very long term. We at Global Rockstar enable fans to invest in music since 2018. And now they can secure their rights as NFTs. NFTs were the perfect fit for us. Global Rockstar is a digital music label, a music publishing company, and an online platform enabling music fans to become shareholders of hit songs. Currently, we have more than 2,000 active investors who each spend an individual amount of $400 each year to purchase song rights. And our user base is growing fast. Now, we are very proud to announce the launch of our music NFTs last week. We are proud to be first to offer music NFTs that give fans the right to receive royalties from streaming, from radio, from synchronization rights, from live, from CDs. And it is all implemented on Amazon Managed Blockchain and developed together with AWS Professional Services. So it's a true revolution of the music business. Our Global Rockstar Music NFTs enable immutable registration of ownership of music royalties over decades. Our smart contracts rule the most important data, like who owns how many shares from which rights, master or publishing rights, for which term. Contracts on paper might get lost, contracting partners might disappear, but with music NFTs, users have 100% security that the ownership of their rights is secured. Our Global Rockstar Music NFTs allow 100% reliable traceability when rights are transferred to new owners. So it is possible in the future on Global Rockstar to trade NFTs from one to the other. And now, maybe the biggest revolution of the music business, our music NFTs allow fans to receive royalties from their favorite songs. Up to 1,000 fans can be a part of one copyright, which means they receive royalties when the song is streamed, when the song is downloaded, when it's played in the radio, in TV, when it's played live, and from synchronization rights. The users who invested receive royalties on the dashboard of their account. They're able to withdraw their revenues or reinvest them on Global Rockstar. Now, this is how it works. Users navigate globalrockstar.com and they find different offers for songs. They can listen to the songs, they can get additional info about the artist, his previous achievements, which rights exactly he can purchase, and what the investment is used for. Then Global Rockstar distributes and markets the songs worldwide in streaming and download stores. Global Rockstar collects the revenues and distributes them to all beneficial owners. So this is when users start to earn money. Every time the song is played in the radio, every time it's streamed. Now in the future, in 2022, users will also be able to trade their music NFTs in auctions or to fixed price. We build a platform for every music lover. You can pay with fiat money or reinvest your earnings from streams and radio. And no crypto holdings or crypto knowledge is needed. For us from Global Rockstar, it was a great experience working together with AWS Professional Services. At the beginning of our blockchain development, we identified our major pain points like scalability, the general blockchain infrastructure, to build a user-friendly platform for users without crypto knowledge. And another pain point was that on mainnet, Ethereum mainnet, gas fees are very high. So all of these heavy burdens were lifted away with the excellent support of AWS Professional Services. They helped us by accessing and providing the deep experience, their proven frameworks, their methodologies, and architectural designs. So here's an overview of the architecture built together with the experts of AWS Professional Services, Christoph Niemann and Thomas von Bornhardt. We are targeting non-crypto native users. Therefore, we create a magic wallet for each users to hold their tokens. Users just need to confirm with a click on an email link. Having the tokens in this wallet is a requirement to earn royalties. The token management service manages all token operations like minting, transfers, and NFT creation. So all write operations are executed here. The token data service indexes the smart contract and can answer to complex queries like who was owning token X at time Y. So all read operations run through this path. And the token management service calls the transaction manager to sign transactions and send transactions to the blockchain. Our main smart contract is on Polygon so that transactions are cheap. Mainnet Ethereum can be used to migrate token off of the Polygon sidechain to mainnet Ethereum in the future and potentially to another layer 2 from there. To solve our pain points, AWS Professional Services has developed with us the following specific solutions. For the best user experience, users do not need to hold cryptocurrencies and pay for transactions. We take care of that and enable gasless approvals for our users. We designed our smart contracts to be upgradable so that tokens will be tradable in the future. We chose to run on Polygon sidechain because transaction fees on mainnet Ethereum are too high for day-to-day usage. This way, we have very low transaction cost for the smart contract. With Amazon Managed Blockchain, we don't have to maintain our own nodes, which frees resources to focus on the development of the application. This helped us to iterate quickly and implement benefits for our end users like gasless approvals. For our growth path, the serverless architecture can scale effortlessly to many more requests while we don't have to worry about bottlenecks in the backend. Now here's the roadmap for the future. Mid of November, we launched our music NFTs in collaboration with Amazon Web Services, and we are very proud that all users from Global Rockstar who purchased music rights in the past can now convert them, mint them to NFTs. Everyone who visits Global Rockstar today can easily, with a few clicks, mint an NFT of the music rights he buys on Global Rockstar. In the first part of 2022, we will launch an NFT marketplace for tradable collectibles. This means we are going to offer unreleased, unique recordings from top hits, for instance, the first demo of a top hit or live recordings. And then in 2022, we are going to launch a marketplace for all NFTs that have been minted until then, which means you will also be able to trade NFTs that include royalty participation. So I'm very happy to see you soon on globalrockstar.com, implemented on Amazon Managed Blockchain. Our vision is becoming a leading music NFT platform for top artists and music lovers. Thank you very much.